Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I am Cody. He is Andy. It is the 25th of March, about 3:45 in the afternoon, Eastern Time, 2:45 Central Time. How are you doing?
How was your trip?
It was good. Got a little sun, a little tan.
Fun in the sun.
Some fun in the sun.
I assume the weather was just a smidge better than where you're at currently.
85 the whole week. Not a cloud in the sky. I come back, it's snowing in Michigan.
I mean, we could have done Tech Talk from wherever you were. You could have just stayed, I guess.
If we would have had service, I thought about it.
We do have, 3 charts today? 2 came at request? 3, 2. Is this the proper way to do 3, by the way, or is it this?
I've always done 3.
I mean, this feels better to me.
I just can't, when you see it from a long ways away, you can't really see that, so I just 3.
What if somebody went like this?
Nope, that's weird.
You know what's weird? So I freaked my kid out the other day. Watch this. You ready? So here's this.
Yep.
And then I can do this. And I can do this. And I can do this. I can do this.
You're a man of many talents.
How about that? All right.
Man of many talents.
Speaking of talents, let's look at some charts.
Let's look at them.
First one came at request. CME block from our good friend J Barf.
J Barf, he's back.
J Barf is back. J Barf's back, baby. And he wanted to see blocks. So for J Barf, we're looking at them. And they're hot. I mean, they've been hot lately. The cheese markets, it's moving around. I mean, I know you were out last week and, you know, you get fun in the sun. Did you get, are you the type of person that gets a cocktail with a little umbrella in it, by the way?
Yeah, 100%.
What color umbrella? Just curious.
Whatever they throw at me. I don't really care.
You don't have okay. Hey.
Every 2 drinks, you reapply with sunscreen. It's kind of a general rule.
So does it say that on the sunscreen bottle? Every 2 drinks, make sure you reapply. So J Barf wants to look at blocks. We're looking at blocks. This is, so we had this. I did touch this red line right here because really it's basically where the market started to really go, right? When she crossed 150 the first time or the second time, excuse me. I guess the question is, do we get back down there again? This chart is not looking like it wants to go and do that, right? Especially after, these 2 candles right here, and let me just zoom in for page. Boom, zoomed in. These 2 candles right here are definitely a sign of weakness. Tried to retrace, completely failed, closing to new lows for all this stuff. And then, whoop, not so fast. If I can actually, there we go. Not so fast. And fundamentally, I think we're pretty price competitive with the rest of the world when you start talking about blocks under $1.60. And the futures curve is telling us that cheese isn't worth anything less than $1.70.
Right.
So I'm assuming you get folks that can say, hey, I can buy a little cheddar here below $1.60. And yeah, but if you just want to think about it from a technical perspective, this attempt to break out to the downside was firmly rejected. It's only Tuesday. And this is a weekly. So there's still time, J Barf. Yeah. But I'd say this chart is kind of in jeopardy of basically going to trade above. Let's say you settle above this high, which was last week's high, I call it 64.5. So a 165 settle. I think now you're starting to talk about yikes, getting back up into, testing this high right here, which is, we already have it drawn at 172 in the block, which it's basically where April futures is at.
Correct.
And April's what? On its second week of pricing of 4 weeks?
Yeah.
So April futures on the clock is telling us this is where the block should go. This is where this green line is basically at.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, this is a rejection, assuming we get the close here. You get a close at 165 this week. You've completely rejected this attempt to break down. And that's a sign of strength. We've
seen a lot more trading hands on the CME the past 2 days also in the block.
Buying, selling, buying.
Right. Probably went down far enough to, you can get down to that $1.60 number and people step in to truly own it. And here we sit. So, to me, this feels supportive. Coincidentally, too, look at this. We're back in all this. Mm-hmm.
Look at that guy right there.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, if you look at that long-term W, right, that you just circled, do you think the same thing happens right now if we settle at 165? Do you think we start getting that leg to the last part of the W?
I don't know about the last part of W is what, $1.90?
Yeah.
I don't know if the market's ready to go do that.
Okay.
Right. But, to go and trade back to this high at 172, the futures, 5 months futures are telling us, sure. It seems like we're competitive export wise. And we saw that abrupt I know we're looking at the block, but we saw that abrupt rally to start the week in the block or in the barrel. I mean, up 8 yesterday.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
just rocking.
Right.
So yeah, this looks somewhat supportive here. I mean, and again, the futures are certainly telling us they're acting like cheese below $1, certainly below $1.60, but even in the mid 60s is going to be tough to get in the NAS and the NDPSR. So yeah, the attempt to break down failing here so far, I think, is a sign of strength.
Okay.
We shall see. Thank you, Jay Barf.
Thank you.
This is a spicy market, right? All of a sudden has gotten spicy. Speaking of spicy, though,
Whew.
this one's for our esteemed colleague, Ever.Ag.
This wasn't truly a request, but we're going to give it to
we'll
him.
call it a we're calling it a request. We're calling it a request. Sep feeders.
Look at that wick today.
Just wicked. No pun. Well, maybe pun intended. I don't know.
Because we had talked about it 2 weeks ago when we looked at, I think we looked at live cattle. We were still looking at cattle of you need to have a place that's going to tell you to sell it. And up here at 290 was probably a place to tell you to sell it. But after seeing the retracement that you had today, is it just a little bit of a head fake?
This thing settled over $4 off its low.
Yeah.
Today.
Today alone.
Just today. And again, this uptrend, I mean, it really depends on, I think you could be a little bit more conservative and say there's still plenty of room for it to break and still be an uptrend. But if you want to be, say that the uptrend truly started maybe here, then you can certainly make the argument that it did break.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is, again, where do you feel like this uptrend really is? Is this a true rejection of that? I don't know if I think you have to see how this thing opens tomorrow. I mean, it's closed now, right? But if this thing opens higher tomorrow, I'd be real cautious about being short. I mean, this market continues to just like punish people for trying to be short again and again and again and again and again.
Well, just like where you drew that second uptrend right there where you started it, that is exactly how today had finished, right? You fell apart, $2, it retraced, the next day it opened, and we just were off to the races.
Yeah. Now, I will say that the secondary stuff, this is money flow index right here.
Good call.
And then you've got momentum that is breaking down. All this stuff is starting to actually show signs of weakness. Here's the RSI. It got overbought, stayed overbought for a while. Right? Remember, or it can stay overbought or oversold for a long time, but then successfully crossed itself back into, from overbought into this territory. That is another sign of weakness. So you do have some of the secondary stuff telling you like, hey, like if you're long, you're going to want to be careful here. It is, you're getting some support from that part of the chart at least.
Right.
So an open lower tomorrow, I think could be like kind of the death nail.
Yeah.
You get an open lower because that, I always think about it this way. Like, okay, we went down, let's say we go back and test that low again. Like it's not, a lot of times it's the first trip to a price. It's the second time that gets a little bit dicey. So yeah, to me, I think tomorrow's open's really big for Sep feeders. Can it open lower and then spend, the opening range lower? And if it does, then I think you got to go down and test this guy right here. And you've got the momentum, you've got the money flows telling you the volume plus, volume and price action combined are telling you that it's getting weak.
Okay. So to open at 285, even 286 tomorrow.
Where do we settle? 286 spot and a half, basically. Yeah, I mean, say you open at 286 tomorrow, and then just through the opening range and throughout the early morning started trickling down like that. It's like a second test of today's low really could accelerate this and down into this here, and then you'll see. But again, it's crossed this overbought, came back down. The momentum is clearly slowing down right here, right? Failing to make a new high, and so is the money flow.
Mm-hmm.
All three of those are a sign of impending weakness.
Yeah. Well,
we'll see.
Zach, there's your answer.
Ever.Ag. That's for you right there. And then you had a request, I think. An oldie but a goodie. You love new crop porn. It's like
it's a gift that keeps on giving. It seems like in this past 3 weeks, it has been given and taking.
Given and taking. Is that what markets do? They buy, they give, and they take.
That's what it feels like.
So I guess what sticks out to me, there's a lot going on here. Let's get rid of some of this stuff.
You didn't change any of this.
I didn't change anything, but I'm going to get rid of this. This has clearly been, we traded through that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get rid of that, and we can get rid of that for now.
Look at that. Though.
What sticks out to me is right here, the attempt to test that high, failing, and now we're through this what was long-term support. and staying through it.
Mhm.
And not only that, we're getting below, this is the 200, I have the 200-day moving average right here, this blue line.
Yep.
Settle below it after getting below what is, traditional. This has been a long-term support. This looks weak. Same thing we looked at with feeders, money flow starting to turn down. That's a sign of impending weakness right here. Momentum clearly in the down, not looking like it's going anywhere. And then you've got room to break before it's considered oversold. So to me, it's like at the very least, let's go find out if this is a W or not. Let's take her down to, go test these lows, 440-ish. Not that far away. It's a dime.
So I guess the big question is, do we go down and test 430 on this
know.
next move?
This would be the next target, which is super close, right? This low, so 431 and change.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that would be like the next target. But you have to prove that this double top is in fact a double top. And I think a close through 440 takes you to 430 or right here. And then it's like, oh man, if you get through that, then it could be lights out for that one.
Yeah. And I think that's what everyone's kind of wondering about is as we start getting closer to springs, closer into planting, is do we go into no man's land below 430 and start knocking the door of $4? Right? Anyone home? Yeah.
You there?
Yeah.
$4, are you there?
Answer if you're home.
Answer if you're home. All right. So I think at the very least, you got to be cautiously looking at being a little short corn, new crop corn. You know where you're wrong this high, about 458. We just looked at feeders, set feeders.
Yep.
We open lower tomorrow. It could be lights out for that contract for a little bit. That could get a little dicey. And it feels like people are looking for an opportunity, looking for a reason to sell a contract that has been consistently making like all-time record highs.
Yeah.
So, and then J-Barf coming in hot with the blocks. They look supportive.
Yeah.
Futures say there should be worth more.
2 possible bearish, 1 possible bullish.
I got to bring back, by the way, the bullish. Like G-Money, he found the bearish bazooka over the weekend. We were cleaning out the garage, and
Bring it back.
he found the bearish bazooka.
We haven't had any charts that deserve a slam of the hammer because nothing's been hammer worthy so far.
Right, we'll find one.
We will.
We'll find one.
We'll get some more volatility moving, and then we'll get some hammers.
All right, we'll get the hammer. We'll get the bearish bazooka out. So, all right, that's it. That's all we got.
That's all we got. All right, everybody. Appreciate you watching. J-Barf, Zach. We appreciate you guys asking us what charts to look at. Anyone else would like to look at charts for next week, please let us know. Email us, call us. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, please do give us a thumbs up, give us a like, tell your friends and family. We will see you next week.
See you later.
Pew, 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 pew.